had a couple of questions here in the chat box, and I'm glad you finished right on time. So you have good job.
It was my New Year's resolution. I'm working on it.
Great. So we have plenty of time to go through your questions, and I am going to start. Let me see here. Okay, so there's a question about leaky gut. I love that subject. So let's go. So first question is, do you think leaky gut can contribute to getting MS?
Absolutely, because it's the second part of the triad, and it's one of the key ingredients in driving forward autoimmunity. You know, in Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine that are very, you know, ancient forms of healing that are very holistic, that take the whole body into account, they think about gut health as being really foundational to overall bodily health. So if there's one system you can focus on, if it feels overwhelming and there's too many things going on, it's getting your gut health in order. And that's a big topic. But what I would say is start with an elimination diet. Remember I said, find out what your food sensitivities are, because you can be eating a perfect diet, but if you have learned to become sensitive to some of these foods, there's inflammation in the GI tract. So you keep fueling the fire by eating some foods that could be very healthy, actually. You know, nightshade vegetables, you know, tomatoes, potatoes, eggplants, etc. So it's important. And do something simple, you know, cut out gluten or dairy and see how things go. Working with an integrative provider helps. Because it's not as simple. And I think that's why a program like ours really comes handy when you need that guidance.
Yeah. And I also think it's important to learn to listen to your body, right? Because most of the time, like you eat something and then you're like, oh, I'm not feeling good. That's weird. Right. Yeah. So like creating that awareness is very important. Would you agree with that, Dr. Susan?
I think it's so important. I think people with MS tend to have a lot of self-awareness because, you know, symptoms are changing and you're always like, is that MS? Oh, this thing happened. Is that MS? Right? So I think it's really good to also tune into your body, but not to the point where it becomes obsessive. But patterns are important. And here's the thing. We look to our doctors to personalize programs for us. We're the only one that knows what's going on in this body, right? And it's on us to figure out what feels right. So even something like exercise, people go, you know, I go and I run 5 miles every day and I feel so bad. Well, don't do that, right? Listen to your body. Your body probably doesn't want to do that. You know, do what feels right, I think is really important. And by the way, leaky gut symptoms are not just gastrointestinal. It could be totally asymptomatic. It could be, skin manifestations like psoriasis, eczema. So it's a messy process, but it's worth doing. And I try to break it down for people where it's less overwhelming, right? So just starting with elimination.
Yeah. And still on the same subject, do you believe you can heal leaky gut?
Absolutely. I think that you can heal it. Every system in the body is dynamic. It can get pushed. It can move back closer to being more normal, you know, if we provide the conditions. So I call them, you know, creating the conditions for healing, where you're bringing good, nourishing food into your body. You're removing food sensitivities. You're sleeping, you're moving, you're working on stress. So just like the immune system can move between dysregulation and regulation, the gut can actually move between being damaged and inflamed and leaky to being normal. And it's actually a very dynamic system. Within a few weeks to a few months, you can actually repair this, for most people anyways. Everybody's different though.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's some people asking for the link to the article that you mentioned in your presentation.
Maybe we can put it, we'll put it in the email that comes after the webinar. So check your email.
Wonderful. So Roberta, VG, she's there also. So a lot of people asking for that. So I'll make sure we add that to the email.
And I'm so happy that people are asking for it, because one thing I want to start getting non-medical people to do is to go and read the literature. It's not as daunting as you think it is. There's easy ways. Read the first part, read the last part. You can skip all the numbers and jump, stuff in the middle, but let's, be more involved in our health and teach ourselves what we need to know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's also another question. These lifestyle changes, they seem to be so foundational and so important. Do you have any, what's your opinion? Why neurologists don't mention lifestyle changes? Do you have an opinion that you could share with us about that?
I do. Their neurologists love you. They do. And they're doing the very best that they can. But in Western medicine, we work in these silos where our training, we choose to go and train in neurology or anesthesiology, right? And so we deal with the system that we're trained to deal with. I didn't know any of this prior to getting MS. And then I had a reason to go learn it because I had this gut feeling like there's probably more I could be doing for my health. And my neurologist and I asked my neurologist, what should I be eating? And they said, no, nothing. You could eat everything. Can I still eat sugar? Yeah, you could eat sugar, just not a lot. My gut knew that wasn't right. So then I had to go and do this, long road to figuring things out. It's not part of our medical training. I hope that it will change in the next decade or so. But it also, the work that I do in integrative medicine has required a lot of training. So I don't think it's fair to ask your neurologist to take on the lifestyle medicine piece. It's too big. It's not as simple as saying, go eat this and you're going to be fine.
Yeah. And it's also about taking charge of your own health, right? There are some things that you need to do for yourself that only you can do, right? So
sure. Yeah.
You were going to say something?
No, I just saw something about bone broth. I know people were talking about bone broth.
Yeah,
bone broth is very soothing to the lining of the GI tract. So it's one good way to start, working on your gut health. I get organic. If you can make it at home, it's even better. And if it's fresh and you know exactly what went into it. But, it's like when you're a part of a community like this, we get to share all these fun tips with each other. So I hope we just keep these conversations going. Can I also say a question about caffeine? Can I just answer it?
Yes, go ahead. There are questions. I feel like we have to do this again, just like a Q&A with you, because so many questions. I'm afraid we're not going to have time to go through them all.
Oh, yeah. No, we should probably do this regularly, office hours or something. But caffeine, I think it's fine if you're drinking coffee because you love it and it's social or it makes you feel good. I think the problem is when you start self-medicating, right? Can't get up and get going in the morning. I got to have my coffee every day. That's problematic. And too much coffee can actually throw off cortisol in your hormones. So if your hormone system's already a little shaky, don't rev it up with caffeine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's one question. There are a couple of questions here about toxins. So that it's not very clear what kind of toxins are we exposed to. And can you give us some examples? Would you talk more about the subject?
So the most common exposures come through the air we breathe, the water that comes out of our faucets, the soil that our food is grown in, which means the toxins end up in the food. And the way they get in our body is through breathing them in, through touching, through across the skin, and through the GI tract when we ingest something. There are thousands. Every year I think about 2,000 new compounds are created by chemists, and they're put into our cleaning products, our personal care products, toothpaste, shampoo, makeup, our building products, our furniture. And when we come in contact with them, being in the same space as them, these compounds get into our bodies, and they can cause anything from endocrine disruption, which is a crazy concept that I didn't believe at first, but it's basically the disruption of human hormone function. For example, people's thyroids going out, too much estrogenic activity, in our young people, where like puberty is coming on about a year earlier than 100 years ago. Lots of breast cancers at younger ages, lots of autoimmunity and immune dysfunction and inflammatory diseases. So these compounds are things like BPA found in plastics, PDEs, which are fire retardants found on our furniture, kids' cribs, kids' pajamas. They even come out of your computer. You can check to see if your computer puts out PBDs. Apple products don't. I think all of them don't. But you can check this. It's not that hard. Just Google it.
Yeah, and we have a list, right? We're going to have a list in our program. We have a list of all the products, your favorite. Dr. Susan, she went through she did her research and she added some products that she trusts and she recommends, and it's on our website. So you can also go there and check it out. I don't know if it's available now, but if it's not, it's soon.
Well, on our shop, which is available to the public, we'll start using our favorite products there. Mm-hmm. But in the program, we go deep about all of that. So yeah, so there's so many. There's VOCs and all your building products and in your homes, air fresheners, all those things. So it's all around you. They're not hard to come in contact with.
Yeah. Now let's change a little bit of subject. We all know about the Walls protocol. And there's been some questions here about the Walls protocol. Would you talk about it a little bit?
Sure.
Okay.
I admire Dr. Walls so much for being just the amazing human that she is. Like, I get goosebumps every time I actually think about her. It's just inspiring. The Walls protocol works because it is a whole foods, plant-based diet. So you're not eating junk, you're not eating processed foods, you're eating real foods, and you're eating mostly plants. There are animal products on that protocol, including organ meats. And the reason organ meats are on that protocol is because they're so dense in nutrients like vitamins and minerals. And it's just a really efficient way of getting those nutrients in. But doesn't she say to eat 9 cups of vegetables a day? And I think in her journey, she was eating 15 cups a day. I mean, it was like something off the charts. So, again, it's no secret. You're eating unprocessed foods and whole foods. And for some people, that protocol really works. I think, as with any diet, I don't think you can just say, this is what you do, and it's gonna be good for everybody across the board. I think this is where that personalization comes in. I can't do that for you. You, as the person, has to do that for yourself. So when I eat on the Walls protocol, how do I feel? Right? And if you feel good, then you do it. And you might need to make your own tweaks to make it work for you. But that's what we each have to do, is the tweak. We do that ourselves.
Wonderful. And support is so important too, right? To have somebody by your side that supports you in that journey, and we have that going on in our program. And that makes a big difference.
Yep. We heal in community. There's no doubt about that. And, just like I could see what's coming through the chat and people exchanging, it's like all of a sudden, you start connecting the dots. It's like, oh, other people are doing this. That means I can do it too. It normalizes these healthy behaviors because we may not be surrounded by other people that are health minded. So community is really important. So whether or not you're going to be in our program or not, I want you to check out our social media. We're going to try to really put out a lot of good education that's trustworthy there.